I'm Nick Shammas. I'm an interventional cardiologist and the president and research director of the Midwest Cardiovascular Research Foundation in Davenport, Iowa, USA. So the Auryon-SCE, or single center study, was designed as a retrospective study from a real-world data to hopefully complement and support, the data that has been released from the IDE study, the XPAD-03 study, and that was the study that led to the approval, of the Auryon laser in the United States. So the background is looking at real-world data in true lesions, real-world lesions, rather than just selected lesions, as we have seen, particularly in the IDE study. So the Auryon laser is a relatively new laser that has a longer wavelength, of 355 nanometer. That's in contrast to the excimer laser of 308 nanometer, and also have a short pulse width, of 10 to 25 nanoseconds, compared to a much longer, pulse width that we've seen with the excimer exceeding 100 nanoseconds. So the advantages of this are two. Number one is the fact that the wavelength is longer, the thermal energy cannot be transmitted way deep into the vessel wall and potentially reducing deeper dissections. And we have actually seen that, in the Auryon eye dissection study that demonstrated less deeper dissection with the use of the Auryon device. The second advantage is the pulse width being short. It leads to a high laser power that would allow it potentially to penetrate severely calcified disease. And that's something that we've actually seen in the IDE study, as well as in the Auryon-SCE study that we are currently presenting at LINC. So this was a retrospective study, that took all patients consecutively that have been treated with the Auryon laser at our center. And there was 56 patients, a total of 70 lesions, and 65 procedures done. And they were followed all the way, for up to 1 year. And the main data was collected from chart reviews, mortality data from death certificates, and so forth. But pretty much all the patients' data have been accounted for after 1 year of follow-up. So really very good follow-up on those patients. And the primary endpoint was looking at freedom from target lesion revascularization. So the 6-month data, if we look at that, it was quite impressive and very much paralleled the findings of the IDE study, despite the fact that a significant number of those patients had limb ischemia, about 25%. There was about a third of those patients had chronic total occlusion, and almost a third had severe calcification. And the lesion length was at least twice, if not 3 times longer than what we have seen in the IDE study. So despite real-world data, the freedom from TLR at 6 months was very, very small, less than 5%. And at 1 year, the freedom from TLR was very high, over 85%. The bottom line is this is excellent data, support very much, that this device can potentially lead to excellent outcomes, mostly, and I believe strongly that is probably related to the fact that it has a lesser potential for deeper tear into the vessel wall, despite its softer debulking approach. It reduces the lesion usually by itself by about 30%. So a 90% lesion can go down to 55 to 60%. But despite that, and sparing the adventitial tear, it may be very well the reason why we're seeing excellent freedom from TLR at the 1 year mark. Well, it's really, in my mind, it's how that device works, in terms of softer debulking, less complications, very easy to use device, no warming phase for the laser before you use it, no interaction with contrast. Adds maybe 2 to 3 minutes to the procedure. I mean, that's all what it is. And despite the softer debulking, it's sparing the adventitia and yielding excellent long-term outcome. So this is really a very good debulking device prior to a more definitive treatment. Yeah, so it will be great to see prospective data, that hopefully will mirror what we have seen in the retrospective data. And I know the Pathfinder data will be hopefully soon released, the 1 year mark, which will be very similar to the Auryon-SCE data. just the only difference will be more of a prospective type of analysis and multi-center instead of a single center. The other thing is, I think randomized data would be really excellent, particularly combining that with drug elution and see if we can improve more on the outcomes that we have currently. So more prospective data, more data, will be very helpful.